Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. This is the privacy edition. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to jump on and join us live, let's see what is up in the news today. So, of course, we have to continuously discuss Ring because the Ring saga is just getting crazier and crazier. Before long, we're going to find that this ring really is the true ring of power, and Sauron is going to come back and destroy us all. So Ring now responds to reports of its security cameras getting hacked. This seems to be linked to a Discord server / podcast where people would actually hack into these things and mess around with people live streaming the effects. Like, oh boy, that would be interesting. Doing things like, telling your children how to do bad and suggestible things and all sorts of other neat things going on. And so it became this big concern. People were like, oh, my account was hacked. Turns out that this is a cred stuffing hack. So it's not like the servers for Alexa were compromised, which is good because the servers for Ring were compromised, which is good. But people, of course, using the same passwords because we now have 100,000 accounts. And if every single one of them needs to have its own separate password, what are we, Rain Man, that we can remember all these passwords? And so basically what ends up happening here is they're reusing passwords and then people are getting into them, hacking their way in because it's an IoT device on the internet. Guys, you got to keep your IoT stuff off the internet. If you're going to have IoT stuff, at least make sure it cannot be accessed on the ClearNet. You'd want to make sure it's accessible only if you access it with a VPN. That's how my security cameras are set up. They're there, but I can only access them through a VPN. And the VPN is not always on. The VPN oftentimes, in fact, it's really only on if I'm out of the office for more than a couple days in a row so I can manage the cameras remotely. So that kind of is the case there. But because of cred stuffing and being able to find your passwords and people testing these passwords out, and what ended up happening is that the people were getting in here and suggesting people do crazy things. So a sleeping woman was woken up when someone began yelling through her Ring camera to wake up. Another report from Texas involved attempts to coerce a couple to pay a Bitcoin ransom. A Florida man, a Florida family, was terrorized by someone spewing racial epithets through their Ring camera. So there was a podcast connected to a Discord server called the Nullcast, which the hackers commandeer Ring and Nest cameras and harass the owners. I disavow such things. But what do you expect putting IoT stuff on the internet? Of course hackers are going to troll you. That's what the internet does. You're going to protect yourself more than that. So the members of the hacking forum were later removed from there. But the point is, make sure, keep IoT stuff off the internet. All right, get it off. No more IoT stuff. This stuff seems cool and awesome. Oh, look at this! I can check out my doorbell from my smartphone. Yeah, so can every hacker in the world. You don't want to do that, So the reality is with a lot of this stuff, it's kind of dangerous. The good news is there was no breach in Ring's security. The bad news is people are still reusing passwords and cred stuffing. And I think almost every story today might deal with this, with passwords and stuff. Maybe we should have turned this into a security thing or not. I don't know. So you can tell from my feature story is going to be from our title. But let's jump in. Don't wait for Microsoft to reset your account passwords. So this one here is not quite as bad as some of the other issues. So what Microsoft is doing is internally, they're checking your passwords against leaked password hashes. And anybody who has been part of this, they're issuing requirements to change the passwords. So saying over 44 million accounts. Again, this is related to a cred stuffer. Now, the difference between what Google is doing, what we will talk about here at the end of the news program, and what Microsoft is doing is Microsoft is checking your password hash against the leaked passwords from Have I Been Pwned and other breaches like that. And so what ends up happening here is Microsoft is checking your password to their account and warning you, which I think is an okay thing. But still, it raises some of these concerns. I don't have any problems with this. I don't really want Big Brother watching over my stuff, but at least in this case, they are doing their good due diligence to make sure that users are not going to get their accounts hacked. I think, though, that Microsoft goes too far sometimes, because it's like I was testing out a phone system, and for some reason, my email was checking through Tor when it should not have been checking through Tor, and Microsoft locked out the account. I'm like, and they're like, well, you have to change the password. Something hasn't been before. It's like, I don't want to change the password. I know this was me. Shut up about it, But I guess when you're usually checking it from central Pennsylvania and your account gets checked in the Netherlands because your Thundermail or your Thunderbird account got jumped on checked from a Tor account, I can understand, but there should be an option to go, okay, this was me, leave it alone. But no, they forced me to change the password, so, lordy. So anyway, it was good and secure. It's probably less secure now because I had to change it to something that's completely unique. Like, shut up, Microsoft. Anyway, this is a good one. GeoZilla gives you a way to track your kids or your pet, and I will probably add your ex-spouse and the person you're stalking and all these kinds of things. Awesome! So, of course, any technology that has good purposes also can have bad. So this is a little device. And of course, this connects to an app. And what we'll probably find is that, like most of these types of devices, they outsource to a cheap company. And we'll probably find that these had major data breach problems down the road. But nevertheless, what this device is doing right here is it's a simple GPS tracker that also has some degree of cellular connectivity as well. So you turn this guy in, you drop it either into the hard, this is the soft patch, but there's also a hard patch. There's an SOS button in the middle of it. And then, so here's the hard case, here's the soft case to give you the lanyards and things like this. So you can put it on the different devices. And then the idea here is that it will track whatever the device is. The SOS button, so, for your kids, they can push the SOS button. And then, of course, to use this, you have to have a subscription plan. Now, I was trying to find more information about what's going on here. I was not able to find it because there is a basic subscription plan and a pro subscription plan. So in addition to paying for your $50 for your tracker, then you need to subscribe to a data plan, which is $4.99 per month, or another $50 annually, or $100 for a 3-year subscription. So with these, what it's going to do, you can track it to the app on iOS or Android, and then it's going to give you the location of this device anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. You can get notifications. So here is their Verge score. We know they're awesome at computer technology. So we'll just see what the Verge score says. Small, lightweight, easy to carry is good stuff. SOS button for quick emergency alerts. This is kind of funny. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. Can be used with young children, pets, and anyone who can't use a smartphone. So it's marketed to people who want to track whoever, whatever, wherever that can't have a smartphone. Or like I said, toss in your ex's under the carriage of your ex's car, check where they're going. The bad stuff, it has 2 buttons that don't have any practical use. Okay. App pushes the premium version aggressively. Only a 3-day trial period for premium version of the app, and device can only be reset by the company's tech support. So you have to contact their tech support, get it reset. Let's talk about this SOS button real quick, because what happens is you push the SOS button, Jim's tracker's in trouble, contact immediately. How am I contact this person on the phone? Like, poor little Jimmy just got abducted by the crazy guy who said, can you help me look for a puppy? Or came up in one of these little big old scary looking vans. I'm hunting Pikachus want to come in. And then Jimmy realizes that this guy's not really looking for a puppy. He pushes the SOS button. They can track where he is, but you have virtually no way of reaching poor little Jimmy. So, but anyway, it is kind of funny. You do have the SOS button, but it's like, how do you get there? Now, you can also set up regions. So if the tracker leaves a certain region at a certain time, it will give you alerts as well. And so, here is, here's basically the zone around the house. So if they leave the zone, you get an immediate alert. So, all this kind of fun stuff. So you are advised to have the tracker sit outside 15 minutes in order to make sure the GPS works properly. Okay. So there is a terms of service. You have to agree to the terms of policy and the privacy policy. You have to give permission to collect location of loved ones, including teenagers aged 13 and over. So that's hilarious. Like, they're not saying... they're explicitly not targeting young kids. Like, what teenager 13 and over doesn't have a smartphone that you can use an app for this on? No, you get this for your 8-year-old that can't. And so apparently you can't use it for the 8-year-old because it says you have to give permission to collect location data on those 13 and over, which is an interesting little thought. Must enable location tracking, obviously. There's emergency contact numbers. There's driving protection feature. So I don't know. There's a lot of interesting little things inside the app. So there's a new way to track your children or whatever else. There's something inside of with all these Nexi phones I have floating around. I thought of a neat idea. What if I attach another account to my Nextcloud and test how the location tracking service works with Nextcloud? It's kind of, in theory, should work like Google. Let me know if that'd be interesting to you to see, because in that case, everything is bouncing back and forth between servers I completely control. Let me know if that'd be interesting to you, and I'll think about doing a video like that. Anyway, let's jump on over. Over 750,000 applications for U.S. birth certificates were exposed online. I have this issue, like, we need to stop using the internet to doing basic government stuff because these contractors and government agents seem to be incompetent when it comes to running technology. So what happened here is there was a contractor, of course, on an S3 bucket. Yay! Yet another S3 colander leak. So more than 752,000 applications for copies of birth certificates were found on an AWS storage bucket. Also had 90,400 death certificate applications could not be accessed. Those ones could not be accessed or downloaded. Bucket wasn't protected with a password, allowing anybody who knew the easy-to-guess web address access to the data. Each application process differed by state, but performing the same task allowed customers to apply to their state's record-keeping authority, usually state's Department of Health, to obtain a copy of their historical records. The applications were reviewed, contain the application's name, date of birth, current home address, email address, phone number, and historical personal information, including past addresses, names of family members, and the reason for the application, such as applying for passport or researching family history. So applications dating back to late 2017, the bucket was updating daily. In 1 week, the company added over 9,000 applications to the bucket. So yeah, we have exciting more cases of all of these technologies going back and forth inside of the inside the internet, with contractors not knowing how AWS... Like, AWS is great, guys, but you got to know how to work it. If you don't know how to work AWS, if you're not comfortable with server technology, stop using it. Stop hiring out a contractor. You're like, I got a brilliant idea. Let's hire a contractor. I have no idea how any of this stuff works. I'm just relying on the contractor. And then, of course, you based your contractor on your individual, the cheapest bid or whatever else it happens to be. Is it any wonder that these things are leaking all over the place? Please, can we stop putting this kind of stuff on the internet? Just stop. We don't need everything and every service on contractors after contractors after contractors of third parties of shared of government agencies all over the place, because it leaks all of this personal information. We got to stop. Stop! Slow down! And my state's one of the worst. We can't even do our car registrations in person anymore. They got rid of that. You got to do it all on the internet. I don't want to do it on the internet. Now, we do have these state stores. I can go and pay an extra $15 to get it done in person still, which is insane. But, whatever I can do to avoid the internet. Oh, boy. Well, Apple has this brand new, amazing iOS parent control on iOS 13.3. We are protecting your children. It can be bypassed. Of course, the thing is, you're using the feature wrong. Legit. So what happens is you can turn on the communication limits, which will in theory lock your children to only being able to talk or message with people that are in the contact list. So what happens then, this is hilarious. So here's a little GIF of what's going on. They send the message. You're trying to send something. Hold on, let me reset the GIF. There you go. So a message comes in. Oh, you can't, you're not allowed to do this. So you click add contact, you add the contact, and now he's in the address book so you can use it. Seems to defeat the purpose. So what they're saying is, oh, this guy, the way to use this right, you're using it wrong, people. The way to use this right, you have to have all of your contacts synced to iCloud. So if your contact on your iPhone are synced to Google, if they're synced to Nextcloud, if you don't sync them at all, they're just on your SIM card or on your device. If that's the case that we're looking at, okay, then you can get around this communication bypass. If you're using Apple's service and you're storing your contacts in Apple's cloud, then you are protected. So it's kind of... you're using it wrong. They're saying that a fix is coming, but, just don't use your Gmail account. Use your Apple account. I think that this is just Apple trying to coerce more people into their walled garden. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know. All right. And on to our feature story. Chrome 79 will now continuously scan your passwords against public data breaches. Now, somebody listed here on the chat here, well, so does Firefox. Well, not that I can tell. Firefox, you have to explicitly enable the function, and you have to be using a Firefox account, which I don't recommend doing. What this is actually going to do is this is going to take a certain amount of bits of your password and send your passwords to Google. Then Google is going to analyze those password lists and match those against potential spawns, and then send the whole list of potential matches down to your computer to analyze them further. So it's not entirely bad, but it's still bad that I don't want Google to be analyzing my passwords. Let me manage analyzing my passwords. So what they're doing basically is they're using the have I been pwned. Let's see if this gets it up here or not. So you're using a password, and this is by default out of the box on Google Chrome. You enter a password somewhere. It actually collects a portion of that password. It's a 3-byte SHA-256 hash. So it's a portion of your password. It's sending this password up into Google's cloud. It's comparing this, and any matches which match that are then dropped back down to your computer. The whole hashes of those passwords are tracked back down onto your computer, and then your computer locally is going to compare the complete password hashes with your password hash. And if it's a match, it's going to alert you. And then with the alerting, of course, this is your tip to probably change your password so you do not get credential stuffing into that. Now, where this is different from the Microsoft's that we talked about earlier in this episode is that the Microsoft account is only checking your password for their service against the known lists, which is an adequate thing for the company to do. Google, without your express permission, is checking any password you enter against password lists for any services, and I find that to be a little bit problematic. Even though they're doing it in a way that does actually have a very good method. So they're not dumping their entire database on your computer, but they're not sending all of your stuff up to them. But they're sending enough up to them that I'm not really comfortable with all that information going up. That's me, but I'm a little bit more conscientious about this. I think overall this might probably be a good thing for the normies. I just don't like the fact that Google put something in here that's sending anything I'm typing into any third-party service back to their servers directly. I find that to be a little bit problematic. Let me know if you think that's problematic, and your other comments to this or the other stories in the comments down below.